Horizon Zero Dawn, one of the most anticipated video games of 2017 and a PlayStation 4 exclusive that Zelda fans have been metabombing on Metacritic as they see it as a threat to Breath of the Wild. Horizon Zero Dawn started development in 2011, shortly after Guerrilla Games finished Killzone 3. It was one of 40 concepts that was pitched and was considered the most risky. Once it was selected, 10 to 20 people started working on it, and about 20 stories were written for it. They even got John Gonzalez, the lead writer for Fallout New Vegas, to pen it. After Killzone Shadowfall, the team went full force into working on Horizon Zero Dawn. Guerrilla Games consulted anthropologists on how man-made structures would decay over time and how humans would form tribes. When the game was shown off, a lot of the hype was how you were someone taking down giant robot dinosaurs with a bow and arrow, which sounds pretty badass if you ask me. That's all that was really shown off, though. They didn't show much of any story hints or anything like that, not that I know of anyway. I hardly follow new game releases because of gaming media hyping everything up to insane degrees and developers showing off complete shit shows on a regular basis. Ubisoft, I'm looking at you. It was released on February 28th. I picked up the following Monday because I was on vacation. In case you didn't watch my Shantae Half Genie Hero review, this was going to be a review for the 18th, but due to having issues with a piece of shit Elgato capture card that I bought, I switched to Shantae and used my old one until I got an upgraded version of the Hauppauge I've used. So you may see some fluctuations in quality for this review. The look of Horizon Zero Dawn is pretty good. It's got lots of color and isn't going with the usual gray or brown filter over it, which I think that stupid technique is finally going away. Aloy looks pretty good, but in dialogue sections, the camera is very strangely angled in a way where it looks like she's looking up slightly. I like that she looks like a normal woman and not some femme fatale type character. The clothing designs of each of the tribes looks pretty good. You can see how they use animal skins and even augment them with machine parts. It's a pretty realistic world. It's like gazing back into the early days of human history, which makes sense if you think about it, as it's like someone did a hard reset on the whole thing. The voice acting is pretty good, and the music when fighting the machines is great. The sound design allows for some nice immersion. The gameplay is about taking down machines with bows and arrows, which brings up two questions. How much of a badass are humans that they can do that, or how fragile are these machines? Horizon Zero Dawn is, and I know that the following words are nothing but buzzwords, but that's what it is, an open world, survival crafting, stealth action game with RPG elements. That sounds like a mouthful. A lot of these words are used to describe this game, have been used so many times that I know people in fact hate them and are tired of hearing them. But the game takes all these elements and puts them together in a very smooth way that makes your adventure seem believable. Aloy's control pretty well, X jumps, square crouches or slides when sprinting, triangle interacts with things, and circle does a dodge roll. Pressing up on the D-pad will use the medicinal herbs in your bag to heal you. Left and right will scroll through other items that you have in your inventory, like traps, or will let you call them out if you have one. L1 opens your weapon wheel. L2 lets you aim, and R2 lets you fire said weapon. R1 will use a quick melee attack, and when not aiming a weapon, R2 will do a heavy attack. R3 brings up your focus, a little device that works similar to the scan visor in the Metroid Prime games. It can highlight objectives and weak points. It's not a broken system like Batman's detective vision. Using it slows you down and you really can't do anything when it's in use. It's more on par with Lara Croft's survival instinct, but is more helpful as it gives you more information. Crafting is a mechanic that is heavily relied on. You can't craft weapons or armor, you can enhance them with upgrades. You'll be crafting ammunition, potions, and traps from stuff you scavenge from the environment and from downed robots. So you can get stuff from human enemies, which is stuff like consumables like health potions. The most common item you get are metal shards, which are used as currency when buying items from vendors and used for making arrows. So you'll need to balance when you craft versus what you'll buy. Also, buying from merchants may require scavenged machine parts, so it adds to that dynamic of crafting versus buying gear, which is essentially a perfect little bartering system that they've made. What I don't get is why you can't recover your arrows from defeated enemies. There's no talent for it like there was in the rebooted Tomb Raider series. Headshots on humans aren't instant kills either. They may do a lot more damage than a shot to any other part of the body, but they won't instantly die. And like I stated in my top 5 best games of 2016, when I talked about The Division being the most disappointing game of the year and how I criticized it for having headshots as not an instant kill. You have 2 main weapons. Your spear, which does heavy and light damage. It can also be used to one-shot certain machines when you're hidden. Don't bother using a light attack, though. Use the heavy to knock it down, tearing some armor off and then finishing it off. The other is a bow and arrow, and there's different types. A fast, short to medium range one, a strong, long range bow, one meant for elemental damage. There's something called a trip caster, which allows you to set a trap that will cause the robots to trip and fall over. There's a slingshot weapon, which I didn't use, and there's a shotgun-like weapon. Another mechanic that you're able to use is reprogramming the machines. You can target certain 4-legged ones to use as mounts, or have them as allies in battle with other machines. Now, to be frank, if you can, the fact that you can ride it like a horse is fucking awesome! As you make your way through the game, you gain experience points and level up. You get talent points to spend in the 3 talent trees. I suggest maxing out the reprogramming talent the fastest, as you'll be able to call for a mount without having to find one to reprogram it. There is a fast travel system, but you need to have a fast travel kit that you buy from NPCs and would need to have traveled to that area before. One of the biggest mechanics the game has to offer is stealth. You can sneak around in tall grass that's red. It doesn't matter if you're in tall green grass. No, has to be red. Why? No one knows. Once you're hidden, you can sneak about the patch from grass to patch of grass to better take down machines and humans. There's an eye up at the top that tells if you're hidden and how much sound you're making when moving about. As someone who enjoys sci-fi and post-apocalyptic stories, I enjoyed what this game brought to the genre, but there's one thing that happened. Minor spoiler. The Nora, Aloy's tribe, worship a computerized door that they call the Goddess. The leaders take it insanely serious, and Aloy, who's reactioning this, you're kidding me, right? It's so unintentionally funny, you expect Aloy to break the fourth wall with how stupid it is. Aloy, whose name is one L away from alloy, as we spell it in regular English, was born under mysterious circumstances and was raised by an outcast from the Nora, Roth, taking care of her as if she were her own. Wanting to be part of the Nora tribe and not an outcast, because she didn't do anything to be one, she takes part in the proving, and on that day the participants are attacked by cultists, which sets her off on an adventure to clear the corruption as the machines have been becoming increasingly violent. I got 9.5 hours into the main story only to realize that I was only halfway through the game. It will take approximately 20 hours to finish it. I didn't do many side quests unless it was on my way to the next main objective. The map is so huge and expansive, so having access to a mount is necessary, or at least have some fast travel equipment. But now I gotta talk about problems that I ran into with the game. The stealth doesn't work like it should sometimes, but I've been in the red grass not moving and got spotted a couple times. The game actually bugged me during a large stealth portion. I had to blow up a building of explosives to kill the cultists that attacked the Nora during the proving. I went to stealth strike an enemy and the game didn't register it, causing a loud noise and for all the NPCs in the area to be alerted to me. So I ran for cover, ducking into a small alcove. The enemies wouldn't jump down but wouldn't reset so I could start the sequence over. Even picking them off one by one as I had a lot of arrow supplies didn't help as the enemies would respawn. They sometimes shot arrows through the rock I was behind and my arrows would occasionally pass through their head with no damage. Eventually, I just said fuck it and sprinted across the village and shot the explosives so I could start the next sequence. Traps don't feel like they're helpful. I've set out a few and only saw them do a small amount of damage and didn't really hinder the enemies. The RPG elements don't feel like they've been implemented correctly. Even by the halfway point of the game, Aloy still felt weak, as her damage output seemed to be reduced. Getting new and better weapons was more of a chore because you couldn't just trade metal shards for them. No, you needed parts scavenged from machines, and those parts take up space in your resource bag, which you use for crafting. It makes no sense that things like trinkets go there, and when they are only used for selling to NPCs as they have no crafting purpose. If there was a trinket bag, it would be better, as to expand your bags, you need to hunt animals, which are far and few between, and they're hard to see because rabbits and foxes are small, while boars are dark, and I've only ever seen them at night or in dark places. I would just run them over with my mount since it was better than wasting arrows. Overall, though, I really enjoyed what I played of the game, the vast open world, the different types of enemies, and the whole take on the post-apocalyptic society where humans regress to a more primitive tribal nature. Unfortunately, I didn't get past the 9.5 hours I played. I came down with something last weekend when I was going to finish it all, and all I did was sleep. For a game that's a brand new IP, this was very well done. Unlike Watch Dogs and Destiny, which those were first launched with season passes and expansions, basically to pillage your wallet. You're given the full game here, much like The Witcher 3, and they've considered working on expanding the game as well, so you're getting a good deal for $60. It feels more like a complete package as opposed to other games where they literally piecemeal the entire game to you and pillage your wallet.